Expedia and Visit Scotland invite you to come experience the beauty that awaits in Scotland. The sweep of wild coastlines, quiet lochs, and untamed landscapes. Fresh cuisine that feels rooted in the land. Come experience the kind of stillness that stays with you long after you leave. Plan your Scottish escape today at expedia.com/Visit Scotland.
Hi everyone, I'm Deb Flashenberg. Welcome to Yoga, Birth, Babies, a podcast produced by Prenatal Yoga Center. We will be diving into everything prenatal yoga, birth, and baby related, hoping to inspire, educate, and empower you through your journey into motherhood. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Deb Flashenberg. I'm your host of Yoga, Birth, Babies, and today we're going to talk about traveling with kids. I love traveling. Traveling definitely changed when I had kids, and I hit some bumps on the way. And for those that have tried traveling with kids, I bet you have too. So I've wanted to do this type of episode for a while, and it took me a while to find a really wonderful guest. I have Bri Hepworth on, and she is going to tell us a lot about traveling with kids. She has a company, Mini Voyager, and that is all about helping families travel with their kids. Let me tell you a little bit about Bri, and that's going to help you understand how she can give these wonderful tips that we're going to listen to. So Bri is a mom of 4, and with her 4 kids, she travels all over the world with them, and she shares real life moments on these trips, the highs, the lows, and the things that help make travel with kids fun. As I mentioned, she created her company, Mini Voyager, to help bring some fun back to traveling with kids. And she created activity kits that help make it easier for kids on the go. So during this conversation, we go over what is it like to travel with kids? Moments of overwhelm, biggest moments of friction that Bri ran into that made her think, I need to figure out how to help my kid. And then also things that can make or break a trip with a kid. She also talked about some of the common challenges a lot of parents face. I know that when my kids were little, we were quite scheduled when it came to our sleep and our naps. So we talked about things. How do you travel if you tend to be more scheduled with naps and activities? She gave some really great advice. She also shared some of her personal non-negotiables when it came to packing for a trip with kids. I think you're going to get so much out of this conversation and learn about Mini Voyager. And Bri also offered the listeners of Yoga Birth Babies a discount, 15% off on anything on her site, Mini Voyagers. And that discount is Mini YBB 15. So check out her website, get the activity kits, get anything on there, get 15% off. Now, before we jump into that conversation with Bri, I'd love to give some updates about what's happening at PYCs. We're heading into the summer, which is why we're doing this traveling podcast. But we're heading into the summer, so you can check out our schedule, our in-class, our in-studio schedule, our online, our on-demand, our workshops. The workshops have been selling out quite far in advance. So make sure if you're going to do some of our workshops, you sign up early. And of course, our teacher training. So everything's on the website at prenatalYogaCenter.com. I also want to say thank you to those that have sent ideas in for some podcast episodes. I really appreciate your input. And I'm going to ask you for a favor. Please take a moment to leave a rating and review. Wherever you're listening to this from, leave a rating and review. It helps people find us, and it just helps us expand our community. All right, that is enough for me. When we come back from a quick break, please enjoy my conversation with Bri.
Ready to soundtrack your summer? With Red Bull Summer All Day Play, you choose a playlist that fits your summer vibe the best. Are you a festival fanatic, a deep end DJ, a road dog, or a trail mixer? Just add a song to your chosen playlist and put your summer on track. Red Bull Summer All Day Play. Red Bull gives you wings. Visit redbull.com/brightsummer to learn more. See you this summer.
I'm really excited to have this conversation. I have wanted to do a podcast about traveling with kids forever, and I couldn't find the right person. So I'm glad I found you. Because I'll be honest, I travel with my kids and it's a little bumpy. So I'm really excited to hear your tricks and tips and all that. So thank you for being my guest.
Good. Thanks for having me on. I mean, it's definitely something that's incredibly intimidating. There wouldn't be a need for any sort of, travel tips and tricks if it wasn't something that was stressful for parents. So,
well, wonderful. So let's jump in, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about you and your love for traveling.
Yeah, so I have 4 kids. They're 10, 8, 6, and 3. My family is based in San Diego, California, and we just travel a lot. It kind of started from we used to live on the East Coast, out in Connecticut, and I would travel cross country to come visit family with my daughter. I only had 1 kid at the time. And it was so stressful. It was so intimidating trying to figure out what the heck to do. I was a new mom. I had no idea. And so, eventually, it was kind of one of those things where I had to figure it out because I didn't have a choice if I wanted to go see family or anything like that. And so I started doing tons of solo cross-country flights with her. And, from there started to get a lot more confidence in traveling, and our travel just kind of truly evolved from there. My husband travels a lot for his job, and so we started to tag along with him. And I knew that I could handle it and just do it with the kids by myself. And, now we have kind of a pretty flexible lifestyle with our kids they do partial school. And so they're in school in a classroom 2 days a week, and then we homeschool the other 3 days. And so it's allowed us to just have the flexibility to travel more. And so we've just started to enjoy that as a family a lot. And we like to find, good deals on flights, and we're kind of spur of the moment travelers sometimes. We can't resist a good deal, but, everything just evolved from those cross-country flights from JFK to San Diego here. And, I started to realize that, I loved it, and I didn't love the stress of it, but, I did figure it out. And, eventually I love to help other people, find that joy and that, kind of, skill set. And so that's like a kind of a long-winded explanation, I guess, but that's really kind of how we came to be doing what we're doing.
We'll talk a little bit we're going to talk more about your company at the end, but what sparked that idea that you're like, okay, I'm going to need something to occupy my kid, and then eventually multiple kids?
Yeah. Before that first flight, I was so stressed. I remember going to, I think the closest store to us at the time was like Bed Bath and Beyond or something. And I was just like hoping that they had kids' toys. And I was like, I don't know what to do to keep a baby entertained on a 6-hour flight. I had never flown with her before. I was going by myself. And so I ended up bringing truly a massive duffel bag worth of toys. Like, it was so big that it was bigger than my personal carry-on. It was bigger than her diaper bag. It was just a massive duffel bag of toys. And it was kind of just a guess of like, okay, well, maybe this will keep her entertained. Maybe this will keep her entertained. I have no idea. It was so heavy that, I just remember this kind man had helped me, cause I had my hands full when I had gotten off the flight, and, my daughter, it was a lot. And so he offered to carry one of my bags down to the, baggage claim. And he picked up that duffel bag. He was like, "Oh my gosh, what is in here?" I'm like, "It's just kid toys," but it probably weighed like, I don't even know. It was heavy.
I'm sitting here laughing because, and sorry to cut you off. I definitely want to hear more, but I laugh because I did the same thing. I remember a carry-on bigger than what I needed because you're like, you don't know what the child's going to want. So I packed everything. And then I remember when my son turned 2, we were kind of oddly strict with our first child about screens, not as much with our second. We're like, okay, he's 2. We can just bring an iPad and a few things. And he watched the iPad for maybe 20 minutes. It's like, done. And we're like, oh no, that was what we're relying on.
You're like, we haven't even taken off from the tarmac yet, you know? Yeah.
And so I guess I laugh or smile because I'm like, oh, so been there, so done that. And yeah, you don't know what they want. All right, so keep going.
So, I mean, that truly was the thing. It was like, I have no idea what's going to keep her entertained. So I brought everything, which was so unrealistic. I'm like, I cannot keep doing this on flights. But, you know, and that's the thing. I think she probably was like 6 months old at the time. And it's just, especially when babies are that little, like I always say from like 6 months to like, I don't know, 3 years old ish, like screens don't keep them entertained the whole time. Like there is not a chance that, you know, my 1-year-old is going to sit and watch a movie, you know? And so that made me really stressed because I was like, I need to figure out what I'm going to do for 6 hours in a tiny, tiny little space with her. And so honestly, that was the whole kind of premise behind our business was, you know, after over, you know, hundreds of flights with her and then with 2 kids and 3 kids, we kind of just perfected what actually keeps kids entertained on the go. And it's not a giant duffel bag of toys. And so we started to kind of curate these activity kits for parents, where they can kind of build their own. And so we have tons of different toy options on our website. And then you kind of just based on their age and interests and stuff like that, you build your own activity kit, but it's all based off of honestly personal research and seeing what actually works to keep kids entertained. And so, you know, that was the thing was I saw so many families that truly were struggling and they wanted to go visit family or they wanted to go on a trip together, but they're like, there's no way I'm going to do it with my baby when she's under 2, or like, we'll hold off on traveling until our kids are older. And I thought that was just it was such a bummer because I feel like it is such a great thing to be able to do as a family. But it really is intimidating. And, you know, after all those flights, I would have so many friends who were in the same boat and, you know, our babies were probably like 1 at the time. And they're like, okay, you've done a ton of flights. What do you bring? What are your recommendations? And so I would just start putting little like bundles of toys together for them. And just kind of realize, you know, maybe we could do this for other families too and help more families and help more people just not have that same stressed out beyond belief feeling that I did on those first couple flights with my kids.
So this is great, and we'll get more into that, but I would love to know what you and maybe your friends saw as the friction points when you were starting to travel before you came up with your kids.
I mean, a huge friction point is just there's so much unknown on travel days, right? And there's so much out of your control. You know, when you're at home and when you're in your normal environment, you kind of know what your baby likes, what works for you, right? You have a routine. And then you get into a travel day and there's just you have no idea if the plane is going to be delayed, if your baby is going to skip nap time, or if, you know, they're not going to like the snacks you brought. Like there's so many unknowns. And that was a huge stressor for parents. And, you know, for me, myself personally, that I saw was there's so much unknown and there's so many things that you can't control, that it just seemed really intimidating. And then, you know, at the time, there really was nothing else. There was no like travel friendly kind of toys or anything out there. There was no info about it. And so I just kind of was like piecing everything together on a trial and error basis of like, I have no idea what is going to work, but, let me see if I can kind of put this stuff together or, figure out how to keep the baby happy. Cause the other thing too is travel days are not just the flight, right? It's getting to the airport. It's the drive to the airport. It's, getting to the destination after. It's waiting at the airport. It's a 6-hour flight really is like a 10-hour travel day when you add in everything else around it. And so it's just a really long time for parents to have to feel on, if that makes sense.
100%. I mean, my kids are old right now. I have a 12 and 14-year-old, and they also get very itchy. They're beyond like infant, but travel days are really difficult. And to the point where, I love traveling. We don't travel nearly as much as it sounds like your family does, but it is something that makes me really happy. But at the same time, there are times I'm like, okay, we're not going to go that far because it feels overwhelming. So let's talk about how I think a lot of parents feel that travel either has to be perfect or maybe it's not worth it, or maybe there's something in between. So what's your perspective on what, and I'm going to put this in quotes, like a successful trip? What does that look like? How has that changed?
I always tell people, go into the day with like zero standards. Like, no, the bar is on the ground. Like, as long as you get to your destination, consider it a success, and anything else that goes good above that is just a bonus. But I think it's just a successful travel day truly is, we've found, especially with 4 kids now, that you just can't stress the small stuff. And you really just have to kind of go with the flow of what's going to happen. I mean, we've had so many missed, canceled flights or a missed connection, and then it turns into, a delay and all this stuff. Like, there's so much stuff that can go wrong. And so it's the most successful thing I think you can do is truly just to stay calm and just relax about it all, which I know is so hard in the moment. I mean, I remember specifically one time we were flying to Norway and there was one flight a week. Like, if we did not make this flight, we were not going on this trip because there was not another flight on this airline for the entire week. And long story short, it was a disaster at TSA. There were only 6 people at TSA in the line, like before us. We should have gotten through in 5 minutes, but they decided to check every single snack in our bag, every single item, every carry-on item. They wiped every single item down. We were at TSA for 2 hours. And our long story short, like, our kids could tell that we were so stressed about it. But, we're just trying to say, it's okay. We're going to figure it out. It'll all work out, as in our minds, we're thinking, oh my gosh, like, we're done for. We're not going to make this flight. We're going to lose all this money on our trip. Like, it's not, we were very stressed. And, long story short, it did work out. We did make it on the plane, but, staying calm in those moments for our kids was truly such a helpful thing because they're relying on us so much, and they're basing all their knowledge and their, experience and their info on our emotions. And, we're the ones that have the full picture and the full story and all the info. And so, a big thing to determine a successful travel day is just to stay calm and just try not to let things rattle you too much. Which again is so much easier in the moment, or easier to say now than it is in the moment. But especially with babies too, nap time gets thrown off, schedules get thrown off. It's hard. It's really hard with babies, but going into it knowing that it's not going to be a perfect day, and that's okay. Babies are not going to be on their schedule, and that's okay. It's fine. It'll work out. That has been really helpful, and just not stressing so much about keeping everything how you plan, because nothing is going to go as planned.
We say that about birth. So I kind of like this.
Hey,
it's kind of like
exactly.
We tell them like, don't be attached to your birth plan. Be open to flexibility.
Exactly.
Sounds like a lot of like the information and advice I give my students. I actually want
so
to go
it doesn't change.
Yeah. So I guess if we get good at this during pregnancy, we just hold on to that for parenthood and all. I do want to go into what you said, kind of like naps and schedules. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'd love to hear your thoughts on travel and vacationing with naps and schedules. And I'm guessing you're going to say be flexible, but let me hear it when we get back. We'll be right back.
Plan B is a backup birth control option that's there for you when things don't go according to plan. It specifically works after unprotected sex and before pregnancy occurs by temporarily delaying ovulation. Plan B is available nationwide at all major retailers and through delivery apps like DoorDash. No ID, prescription, or age requirement. It's the #1 OBGYN recommended brand of emergency contraception, and it won't impact your future fertility. That's freedom to be. Use as directed.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You know those friends who support your preference for podcasts over music on road trips? That's the energy State Farm brings to insurance. With over 19,000 local agents, they help you find the coverage that fits your needs, so you can spend less time worrying about insurance and more time enjoying the ride. Download the State Farm app or go online at statefarm.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Okay, we're back. So I know that different people function differently when it comes to flexibility and fluidity of naps and schedules and trying to keep everybody happy. My family, we were kind of scheduled for naps, and it worked really well in our regular day lives because I knew when kids were napping and it helped us plan other things. But traveling, especially when there's a time zone difference, threw that in the air, and it was messy. So what would you give it? What kind of advice would you give? I'm guessing it's be flexible, but when a kid may be on a schedule, and how are you traveling with that? And what is the advice you'd give to a family that does have that kind of schedule?
Yeah. So, it is be flexible, but there's so many things that you can do to make it work for your family and try to stay a little bit on that routine. There's a couple things and I've been on both sides of this because I have some kids that really needed their naps. And like, if they didn't get that hour and a half of, a nap during the day, the rest of our day was ruined because they just could not function. They needed that break. And then I have other kids who were fine with car naps and, they just would sleep when they can. And so it was fine. But especially with littler kids who really do need that break, a couple things that I like to do is I don't overplan days. And that's a big thing. And I think that might be hard coming from doing trips with no kids. And then all of a sudden you have kids and you're like, well, we're going to go on this hike and then we're going to go to this restaurant and then we're going to go check out this museum and then we're going to go to the beach. And it's like, there's no chance that's going to happen with kids, And so adjusting your plans and your expectations really is important with kids, and just scheduling less, especially if your kids are going to need naps. What I like to do is, especially with time changes too, my kids would always wake up early. So I'm like, let's just get going because they're going to be tired earlier in the day. Like there's no point in trying to sit around until 9 a.m. If my kids are up at 6, like, let's go do something earlier and make the best of it. And so we would try to schedule something like one activity in the morning, and then we would come back to the hotel or the Airbnb or whatever for a nap. One nice thing that I like to try to do is if you do have other kids that are older that, maybe don't need that nap time or that downtime, what we would do is I would stay up in the hotel room with the baby while the baby napped. And, my husband would take the other kids down to the pool. And it was so fun. Like they didn't care that they weren't out driving around, Hawaii, exploring the island. Like they were just happy being at the pool with their dad, and it's just one of those things where you don't have to have this big grand plan every day. It can be, something simple like that, but scheduling something in the morning and then scheduling it's set break time where, baby can nap is really, really great. And then just go do an afternoon activity. Or another thing that we like to do is just, if we're somewhere where we know there are going to be a couple just kind of like go days, I like to schedule a reset day, a couple days into the trip or something like that, where it's like, we have no plans today. Everybody is going to sleep in. If someone needs a nap, we can hang and, just let everybody catch up on sleep. There's no driving around to go do all these things. It's just a chill, kind of relaxing day. And I found that with kids, that really helps a lot too, especially when, they are more used to a routine and stuff, and having so many days in a row of like going to do all these new activities can be so exhausting. I mean, it's exhausting for an adult, And so having that very intentionally set reset day, and just having kind of a really loose schedule. Like our reset days are usually like, we're going to play at the hotel, or we're going to, just swim at the pool. And when they want to go back and take a nap, they can, and we'll just kind of walk to dinner somewhere, like figure something out that's close by. It's just very, very loosely planned, and just kind of base it off of whatever, baby needs that day.
That's really smart. I really like that. Sorry, keep going. But I was like, my head is nodding. I'm like, yes, this is good.
I mean, those are the two things. Obviously, flexibility you have to have it, especially when you're traveling with kids, because you never know what's going to happen. But those really are the two things that I do try to intentionally schedule into our travel to make it, just less overwhelming, and to let kids just catch up on the sleep that they need.
And I like that you're talking about the reset days. My son gets very overstimulated if he does too much. And we have learned that we do things a lot kind of like how you do the first scenario. We'll do something in the morning. We'll come back to usually an Airbnb and take a nap or have downtime, and then something in the afternoon. And then we do a lot of family games. That's usually the evening. Yeah. But I find that downtime in the middle of the day is really necessary for all of us, to have to kind of down regulate, release whatever stimulation and then it's interesting because we always kind of go to our own little areas of wherever we're renting and have. For me, I love alone time. I love family time, but I also crave alone time. So that's our time to, or at least for me, to kind of be like, okay, you're around me, but I'm now quiet within myself, and then kind of recongregate.
Well, I think that's a skill too, to help your kids learn, is like, it is to make it a vacation for the parents too. Like everybody does need to do their own thing sometimes. And, it's okay to go play quietly for a little bit, and, not to plug the activity kits that we make again, but that is another huge use for them, is during quiet time, during these downtimes, is they have their own activities that they can play with, and it is totally independent, and it's something they can do while I'm out on the balcony reading a book, or just decompressing from being on and being a parent, the whole time. And so, it is nice for everybody to have their own little downtime too.
Yeah, it's really, otherwise you come back from the vacation, you're like, now I need a vacation for my vacation.
Oh, absolutely. Another thing I'm thinking now, as I said that, was when you're traveling with kids, I really, really love finding, if you're going for the hotel route, I love finding places that have either a balcony or that have a separate room that you can be in. because I mean, there is gear that we use to help make it easier to travel with kids, but you don't want to be sitting in the dark in a hotel room and just being completely silent, the whole time because baby's napping. And so I've always loved finding hotels that have a balcony that I can sit out and read on there or, just be in a separate room so we don't have to be 100% silent while baby's napping.
Mm-hmm. So you've traveled so much. There has to have been a couple moments from your own traveling where things did not go smoothly. So dig back in your mind. What did you learn from those moments? What do you want to share?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I mentioned our Norway trip, and that one was stressful. We learned from that. Just, you always have to get to TSA so early. You never know with airports. My goodness. But, there's been other trips where actually, no, it was that same Norway trip. I've learned I am not the one to book things on our trips. I am great at finding all the fun things to do, and then I make my husband book them because we were supposed to go on this what is it, an inflatable kind of like speedboat through the fjords of Norway, and it was going to be so incredible and so fun. I booked it on the wrong day. And so we get there and there's no reservation. And luckily, again, we've just really found that just staying calm and okay, we'll figure it out. Something's going to work out, and at that point too, it's so hard when you're in a stressful situation, it's really hard to focus on things and take care of the kids at the same time and take care of needs. And so, if there are two parents traveling, it is always nice to have one parent be like, okay, I've got the kids, you stay and figure this out, or, vice versa. But, luckily we did get to reschedule it for later in that day. But, I learned I am not the one to book things.
So know your strengths is the
exactly. Exactly. But I think the big thing too is there's been so many trips where we've forgotten something, and we forgot the one of my kids used to use one of those kind of like sleep sacks to sleep in, and we forgot it, and he could not sleep without it, and I was like, we're done for. What are we gonna do? But in the moment, it really is such it's a good time to just take a step back and know that, things will work out. There's always something that can be done, to help the situation. And so, I mean, in that case, it was like, okay, well, we're going to make a stop at a baby store and we're going to figure this out. And we've found too that it's a great skill for our kids to learn of seeing things go wrong, and just seeing how we handle it in the moment has been truly a great skill for them. And I see it back in our daily life here, things don't go their way, and you can kind of see them processing it and figuring it out and being like, okay, we're going to come up with something else, or we're going to come up with a different solution. And, that's been something that has been really great. That's come out of, all the mishaps on our trips. And there's been lots, but just being able to laugh at ourselves about it and show our kids it's okay. It's going to be okay. It really stinks in the moment, but we're going to figure it out. Has truly been a great skill to teach them.
Have you noticed with your 4 kids, different travel personalities? I know I'm really just throwing this at you because as I'm thinking, her kids must be so chill, because I think about, again, I'm only going from my own 2 kids and honestly watching a lot of other kids. Do you notice, do you have one kid that's more easygoing, one that's a little more challenging, and how do you deal with the different personalities as you're traveling?
I'm laughing to myself as you say this, because if if anybody goes to my Instagram and sees any of our reels, you know which kid is nuts in our family. And he is, it's the youngest, which I'm sure is not a surprise, but he has, all my kids have consecutively just gotten wilder and wilder. And I was a really chill kid growing up. And so I don't know, I blame my husband, but man, the first two were very adventurous, and just very fun loving, very easygoing. This third one, I thought he was going to be oh my gosh, this is nuts. Like he's crazy. And then we had our fourth, and his name is George, and he's just got his own little wild personality. And honestly, I always say, look, if I can do this with George, you can do it too. Like
what's something he would do? He's 2, right?
He's 4 now, but
he's 4. Sorry.
Okay. Did I say he was 2? I was probably wrong. No, he just had a birthday. When you have so many kids, I'm just like, I gotta think about their ages here. So George just turned 4, but he's just, he has a mind of his own. And so, our plans to have him sleep on it was a flight to New Zealand, and we were going to have him sleep. It was an overnight flight, and, it was going to be easy. He was going to sleep the whole time. Not a chance. He decided he was not going to sleep. And so we brought his car seat on the plane because he sleeps really well in his car seat, if we're driving somewhere. And so we thought, great, no problem. Joke was on us. He decided to throw a massive fit. And so instead of using that seat to sleep in, he demanded that my husband hold him for, I don't know how long the flight was. It was like 12 hours or something, and George slept great in my husband's arms. And I have so many videos of my husband just staring straight ahead. Like, I am not moving my arms because this kid is finally asleep. And we're just going to make the best of it here. But, different travel personalities here. It really is something that, you definitely it's a learning process, right? You really don't know how your kids are going to be until you're in the moment. But now we know that my oldest 2 they're pretty easygoing. Like they are kind of good with whatever. My third, he really likes to know the plan. And so with him, we've found that, going over, this is something we kind of just started doing, but we'll show him pictures or like a little kid-friendly YouTube video of like where we're going the next day. Like, for example, when we were in Rome, we showed him videos of the Colosseum the day before he went. And he really liked knowing the plan and kind of being able to process it a day before. He didn't like the surprise of it, And then with George, we just know that it's going to be a wild ride. But, with him, we know that he gets really hangry. And so we've got to have snacks. And so, there's little things and little kind of tricks that you learn with each of your kids and their different personalities and needs to make the trip go smoother. But, at the same time, George does provide us with lots of entertaining travel content on our trips because he just thinks he's the boss.
He sounds hilarious. I say that with love for you because I can imagine I have a challenging child, so I understand what that's like. But for the one that I love your tip about showing where you're going the day before, because for some kids, the unknown can cause a lot of anxiety. So I think, like you said, processing it is really smart. So what are you've been traveling forever and everywhere, so you must have some non-negotiables. What are some of your personal non-negotiables when you're packing for a trip with 4 kids?
Ooh, let's see. Honestly, I always try to go over their how do I say that? I always try to go over their like clothes and like their clothing situation with them, because we've been places where I pack stuff I think is really great and it's cute and it's, I think they love it. We unpack it and they are just like, you brought me all the wrong stuff. Like, I can't wear this shirt, or these shorts are so uncomfortable, and, all this stuff. And so one of my like must do's before trips truly is just, some of my kids are old enough, and I really do. I think packing is a skill too. And so I will have them, help me pack, and I'll let them know like, hey, we're going somewhere warm. You need 5 shirts and 3 pairs of shorts or whatever it is. And I'll let them pack, and then I'll kind of go over it with them. But I've found that having a say in what they pack has really helped a lot. That's been a huge one, and that has made life a lot easier when we get to destinations, because there's no surprises in their suitcase. Another one is, we always like to, when we do trips, we try to plan something unique for each place. And whether that's a cultural experience or, making sure we try some food from, wherever we're going, whatever is unique to the place. I really do like, doing something that feels a little bit more specific to where we're going and a little bit more unique. And then, as far as packing, we've kind of gotten into our routine now of, gear and stuff that we bring that are, I consider, musts of, there's a certain, let's see, like there's a, certain, it's called a slumber pod. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's something that helps babies nap, and it's kind of a dark room for them basically, and creates a little dark room over their crib. That was a non-negotiable for me when, I was traveling with a baby who slept in a pack and play. And, then as, my kids get older, another non-negotiable was my kids love audiobooks. And so we always had to bring the Yodo for them. It's a little, mini audiobook player. And so there's little things that, it kind of changes with each age, but knowing the things that absolutely will help you, or, that are things like that will just make the trip easier. I always will make room for them in my suitcase. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is really smart. And I think these are really good tips for new parents out there. They're like, I want to continue my love of traveling, but feeling overwhelmed. What have you seen travel give to your children or family that makes it worth all this effort?
And I've mentioned this, a little bit already, but the flexibility that I've seen my kids have now for new situations has been such a gift. I really feel so lucky that they've been able to be in uncomfortable situations and push themselves to try new things. And the thing is, we don't ever push them to do something they don't want to do. But at the same time, we give them lots of opportunities to try fun things, or maybe scary things to them, or things that are very new and foreign and challenging. And it's been really fun. I think a lot of parents will be surprised, especially if you haven't seen your kid in a type of situation like that. It's really cool to see your kids step up to something and be like, I'll try that. Yeah, let's do it, And as a parent, it's such a unique experience that you get to see your kid in that type of a situation, because it's really cool. It's really, really cool to see your kids just kind of rise to the challenge. The other thing that I've truly loved from family travel, and this is, I don't want to glamorize this, because for every awesome moment on a trip, my kids still fight and my kids still argue and there's still meltdowns, and like it's so hard. And so know that behind this sentiment is all those hard moments too. But I really do feel like my kids and our family as a whole become closer when we travel. And, I think anybody can relate to that. Like there's anytime you're in a new situation and you have an experience with somebody, like you do bond over that. And it is something that you remember. And I love that my kids are still able to, I hear them talking about, do you remember when we did this? Or do you remember when we went here and we did this on a trip? Or they'll just bring it up in conversation. And it's really cool to see. And it's something that is a really special shared experience for them as siblings, which is really, really neat to see. And, it really has made our family closer. Like you do get such great quality time as a family when you travel. You get all the hard moments too, to be sure, and know that that is there. But I do feel like the good outweighs the hard.
Yeah. And I think even with time, some of the hard you can look back on and kind of laugh at. I'm thinking about, we did a trip to Banff 2 summers ago, and we arrived in Toronto, and we were supposed to have a flight like 2 hours later. And as we're landing, I pull out my phone and they're like, your flight has been canceled.
No.
And it was rescheduled for 10 hours later. So we're in the Toronto airport trying with everyone else to get connected. And we ended up not being able to change the flight. So we sat in the Toronto airport for 10 hours. We were going to try to go into Toronto, but we had to have all our luggage with us. I'm like, what are we going to do? So, and at the time, we didn't love it. We played a lot of card games, a lot of walking around. But in hindsight, we laugh at it now because nobody had a meltdown. So that's a plus.
Yep.
But we laugh at it. We're like, oh, remember that time? Yeah. So I think some of those challenges can then turn into, like you said, kind of like trauma bonding memories.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And it really does become a family lore type of a thing, right? We, my family plays games too at night. And, there's been many, many moments where we play, we don't play to see who wins. We play to see who loses. And then the loser has to do an embarrassing dare. And I have been the loser too many times to count. But moments like that, you bring up so many years later, right? And you still remember it. And even if it is such a rough moment in time, and I'm sure it was not comfortable sitting at the airport for 10 hours, but you do look back on it and be like, I can't believe we did that. And I can't believe we made it through,
Yeah. Oh, that was a tough one. All right. So I'm also going to steal, by the way, your idea of play to lose, because we have a bit of a winner situation where we've had tears set. So I think I might steal that from you.
It's brutal. We've come up with some bad dares. My poor dad, he's lost a lot, but he's probably had the most embarrassing dares, but I mean, we've had some funny ones. I do try to film them and I have them on my Instagram page and I'll make videos about them, and it's always entertaining. I
think I might steal that from you.
It's a fun family memory. Again, why, traveling as a family, it just creates lots of great memories and moments.
Okay, we're going to take one more break. When we come back, what is one final tip or piece of advice you'd like to offer new and expectant parents? Now, it can be anything. It could be from your traveling. It could be from you're a mom of 4. It could be from anything. Okay, we'll be right back.
You thought this was your Run Club era. Turns out, it was more of a thinking about Run Club era. The good news? Someone's marathon training is about to start. Sell your workout gear on Depop. Just snap a few photos, and we'll take care of the rest. They get their race day fit, and you get a payout for trying. Someone on Depop wants what you've got. Start selling now. Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
Okay, we are back. So what is one final tip or piece of advice you'd like to offer new and expectant parents?
I think the best thing, and I wish this is something like I wish someone had told me when I first started having babies was, and we kind of talked a little bit about this earlier, but the moment doesn't have to be perfect to start. And I think that's something that's really as a perfectionist myself and a recovering perfectionist here, if I didn't have all the knowledge I needed, or if I didn't have all the gear that I thought I needed for travel, I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it yet. I'll just have to wait. But there's no better time to start than now. And, it's this, this really, speaking of travel, but, it really relates to anything. And you'll get those skills as you experience it. And, traveling is a skill, and you get better at it the more you do it. And so the more you do it with your baby, the easier it becomes as a toddler. And then, you've gone on 5 flights with them by the time they're 2 or whatever it is. And even relating to just getting out of the house with a baby, I know that is so hard as a new mom. It's hard as a new mom with your first baby. It's hard as a new parent with 2 babies. And you're like, how the heck am I going to do this by myself? And I have 1 baby. I have a toddler. Things seem so intimidating when you've never done it before. And so I think the best advice I can give is just to go out and just go for it. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to go exactly how you plan, but the more you do it, the more practice you get, and the easier it gets eventually.
That is great advice. So we've talked about your company. Let's talk, where can people find you and Mini Voyager? And tell us a little bit more about Mini Voyager.
Yeah. So, we do share tons of travel tips on social media, mainly on Instagram, and that's just at Mini Voyager. There's an underscore at the end of it, but you type Mini Voyager, you should find us. And, on there, we share lots of travel itineraries and tips and tricks for travel and, entertaining things that we do on family trips. And like I mentioned, lots of funny little toddler George content on there.
I gotta go dig into that.
He's an entertaining guy.
That'll be my evening entertainment.
Yeah. That's my kids' evening entertainment. They want to watch George videos. But, and as far as our activity kits, we have kits from ages 6 months all the way up to about 10 years old. And you can find those at minivoyager.com. And basically what you do is you go on, you pick your size of kit, and then you customize it completely however you want. And so, if your child loves animals, there's tons of different animal type books and toys and activities. And if they love cars, there's that. If they love art, there's tons of, options there. And so it's just a really great way to customize a kit and, have something completely ready to go. I like leaving mine in my car, for just days when we're out and about, and just leaving it as, kind of car activities. It's something that it's just really nice to have a bag of very on the go friendly toys. And so, yeah, we pack all the orders ourselves, it's just me and my kids running it. And so, we see every order that comes in and, are always so appreciative of everybody supporting Mini Voyager. And, it always makes us excited to see these activity kits going out and just knowing that it is something that is helping parents just feel a little bit more confident and prepared on the go with kids.
I wish this was around when my kids were little. I would have loved to have gone. Honestly, it sounds like so much fun. Like, okay, my kids into like animals, definitely animals, and be like, okay, we're going to do this and this and this. And to have it all curated in one box seems so much easier than looking all around and trying to make your own. It just, I really like this. I wish I had this.
Oh, well, thanks. A big problem for me was, when you're packing, you're usually packing like the night before a trip or the day before, and you already have so many other things to do. And so I hated having to run to, Target or a convenience store and try to find entertainment for my kids like last minute, the day before. And I already have so many other things to do. And so this was a way for parents to just get an activity kit, put it away in the closet, and just know that when you're ready to go on a trip, you just pull that out, and it saves so much time, which has
or
been,
even like going to a restaurant.
Yes. Oh yeah. They're lifesaver. I will say they're lifesavers at restaurants. And we have many families who get them just specifically for that, because they're like, this is the first time we've been able to have a conversation as adults and as parents, and our kid is totally happy and totally entertained. And so it's been really rewarding as a, business owner and as a parent, just to know that we're helping other parents be able to get out and just enjoy doing life with kids more, because it is so hard and it is so stressful. But, if we can take a little bit of stress off their plate, that is a total win for us.
Oh, you do such great work. Thank you so much. And thank you for the wonderful tips and just the smiles and entertainment. I am totally going to go check out your son later. That sounds really wrong. I was going to check out the George videos. He seems like he's going to be a hoot. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
This has been an episode of Yoga Birth Babies, produced by Prenatal Yoga Center. You can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope. I'm Deb Flaschenberg. Thanks for listening.
This Father's Day, when you ship UPS Air at the UPS Store, your items arrive on time or your money back, guaranteed at no extra cost. It's like the father of all shipping services. It shows up to the airport way too early, just to play it safe. It's overprotective about all the things that truly matter, and it's always prompt, especially to be with family. Make it your first choice to celebrate your dad. Ship UPS Air with our money-back guarantee, exclusively at the UPS Store U.S. retail locations. Visit the upsstore.com/airshipping for full details. Terms and conditions apply.